Okay, welcome back to Business Morning. Mrs. Damilola Hassan has been talking to us about wealth management in Nigeria, and we're going to continue that discussion. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Let's move over now to the wealthy. We'll talk about the low, the mid-income, and now the wealthy. How would you describe their position in terms of their contribution to the economy based on their ability to manage their resources?
Nigeria is a blessed country. We have our issues, but at the same time, we are blessed with a lot of resources. And you have people who have, over the years, really worked hard and put in a lot of their efforts into building their net worth. You know, so we can categorize these people as the wealthy that you're talking about. Wealth, like a quote we love to use in the office, says wealth is not just about having a lot of resources. It's also about having very few needs. So you are indeed wealthy when you have been able to take very good care of your needs. And your needs don't have to be personal needs. Your needs can be environmental needs, communal needs. You know, so being wealthy is not enough room to just accumulate resources. It's also about meeting needs of your immediate family and your environment. So a lot has been done with, we have a lot of wealthy people who are giving back to the society, who are making sure that the environment feels the impact of their wealth. You know, so that has happened to a very large extent, you know, in recent times. Now, when it comes to the management of their wealth, the question you may want to ask now is, to what extent are they very much on top of managing this wealth? Many a times, the source of your wealth is what you have a passion for. So, deriving that wealth is a different ball game from managing the wealth when it comes. So that's where the role of a wealth manager comes in.
Okay. How
is this wealth being managed? What are the overall objectives that you want to achieve? In wealth management, you would have passed through 3 different stages for you to say categorically that you've had a successful life as a wealthy human being.
So what categories?
You would have passed through the accumulation stage. That's the growth phase of your wealth. And then the preservation stage. After you've accumulated, to what extent is this wealth being preserved? And then, of course, the ultimate is the transfer stage. So it's not just enough to accumulate the wealth, to preserve it. To what extent have you put together your wealth in such a way that it can be easily transferred to the next generation, such that you have this wealth passing on from one generation to another in a healthy form, and that can continually boost the overall economy? Because, I mean, if the wealth is not found by the second generation, then what's the use of the wealth in the first instance?
We've seen cases where a wealthy man dies and the children squander the money or the investment or the savings of the man. In that respect, do you think a wealth manager would have control over the resources or the savings of a wealthy person? You know, when the children say, okay, we want to take this, we want to use this amount, we want to withdraw this, do you have the power to control how they spend those savings?
Now, for every individual, what you have power over is your today. So what you do with your today would determine to a large extent what happens tomorrow, whether you are there or not. If today you have taken out time to plan and work towards achieving, if your objective as a wealthy individual is to ensure that wealth is passed on to your successors to continue to achieve a particular purpose, you would, as at today, when you are in control, put things in place to ensure that that desire is is achieved.
Can that be in the will of that person?
You have different instruments. You have wills.
Okay.
How many individuals?
To control.
How many individuals actually have their wills written? You also have the tool of the living trust. It's not very popular around here, but I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and they are coming to the realization that that's also very, very important for them.
A living trust. Tell us more about that.
Living trust. You have all of the wills, the living trust. You have it all embedded in what we call the estate planning. Okay. So as a wealthy individual, you have to sit down to plan your estate. Your estate is your resources. What do you want to achieve with your resources? Who do you want to have worth? You have family businesses. What is the succession plan you're putting in place? So the planning of all of those things with a professional, with a wealth manager, helps you to document it. The living trust helps you to, what it effectually it does in essence is to give you control while you are alive.
Okay.
To say, I want these resources moved to this place, I want this controlled in this manner, this should go to that person. And you are declaring that while you are alive, you are transferring those assets to a trustee. And you're saying that this trustee technically owns these assets while I am controlling where the assets go to. So at the point of demise, you don't have children or wards or guardians or relatives springing up to say, no, that was never his plan. For goodness sake, that had always been his plan. He actually started it before he even passed on. Okay. You know, so that makes it a lot easier than a will, because a will can be contested. You have issues when they say he wasn't in the same mind and all sorts, but you have that taken care of with a living trust.
I'd like us to look at Nigeria before we wrap up the program. We've had issues with wealth management. Of course, we know that from time to time, every saving we have, we planned to save, but at the end of the day, we take more from the saving, and we have our resources depleted. Our foreign reserves have been depleted. How would you assess the ability of the government to manage its wealth?
That's, there's a whole lot embedded in that. We must take responsibility for the future of our nation. And if we do not take responsibility for the future of our nation, we will find ourselves drifting wherever the tides move us to. That's why leadership is very important. What direction is leadership taking a nation, taking a country? Those are all the things that would really determine the wealth of a nation at the end of the day. Do you have a visionary leader? What policies are being formulated? What steps are being taken to ensure that whatever we have as resources, we are maximizing? How are we giving back to the Nigerian community to ensure that the wealthy are not, do not regret being in Nigeria, being wealthy in Nigeria? How, a simple instance where an average individual has to provide every single thing. He has to provide his water, provide his light, provide his... That would deplete wealth. Because people should be encouraged to, you know, to put their investments in what can help the economy to grow. So if the government does not take care of all of those things, the wealth of a nation cannot grow independent of the individuals in that nation. You know, and then of course the government has to, like I said, there has to be a lot of fiscal responsibility. You know, the duty of the government is to earn from the individuals that you have given back to by earning taxes. So to what extent is the government diligent in doing that? And, you know, so there are a lot of things, you know, that as a government we need to really look into critically to ensure that 20, 50 years from now, we have the nation that we all desire to have.
There's so much to talk about wealth management.
So much to talk
in
about.
The country. I was going to ask you about the role of banks in ensuring that we do not suffer capital flights and billions of dollars. We're seeing people moving out of the economy, perhaps if the environment is not conducive for them to operate. But that would be for another time. Thank you so much, Mrs. Damilola Hassan, the head of wealth management at Meristem Wealth Management. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And that is it on Business Morning. Thank you so much for your time as well. We hope that you've been able to understand what wealth management is, whether you are the low-income earner, mid-income earner, or you're the wealthy in the Nigerian society. We hope to see you on Monday. It's bye for now. I'm Bolaji Akinwale.